Pull 3 by Wdowski, 2025, Chapter 3. His saber drawn and on foot, Dale knew he was outnumbered. If the screeches were from what he thought they were, turning his back on them and trying to run would be his last mistake. His only hope was him facing them, on the guard, as he cautiously kept stepping back from the forest. He looked up at the sky. At least the sun is still on my side. Perhaps they won't consider me worth venturing out of the darkness. Deep in the darkness of the woods he could make out glowing yellow eyes. The eyes burned like mini fires. He counted at least a half-dozen pairs. Not a full force, a scouting party, he thought to himself. I think I could handle a scouting party, although I rather not try to find out, especially without my shield. He kept backing away, focusing on the eyes on the road in the woods. They are not getting any closer. He tried to whistle, hoping he was far enough from the woods that his horse would not be too afraid to return for him. The eyes did not approach him. They instead seemed to fade back into the darkness of the forest. He still kept backing away as if they had not retreated. Still facing the possible danger, he finally wet his lips enough to be able to whistle. He could hear her galloping up from behind him. Good girl. He placed his foot into the stirrup and swung himself back onto the saddle. He pulled her away from the woods and took off back down the road to the Neethton city. With the New Angle woods cut off, he would not be able to return home that way. He is going to need help or find another way around the woods. 2 hours later. These were not Zachary's, Dale explained to the Neethton magistrate. You said you didn't see them, the official responded. I told you I heard them, and I saw their eyes, yellow fiery eyes. Seeing that the guard behind Dale became unsettled by what Dale was suggesting, the official tried to calm the situation. First of all, demonoids never venture out of their lairs beneath the ruins until winter. Second of all, they have never ventured this far when they do emerge. You must be mistaken, human. Dale was frustrated. He realized that this was not going any further with the magistrate. Is there someone else I can speak to? The official chuckled. Just because the prince spoke to you earlier does not mean we can disturb him. I recommend you be on your way, human. You can take the Old King's Road near the coast back to your settlement. That is, if you're too afraid to go through the New Angle woods. Can you at least send a patrol to check for yourself? If I am right, something is very, very wrong. You already had the prince have me send a scouting party to the ruins. I am not going to send more of our warriors on what you humans say, he paused to recall the term, a wild goose chase. He gestured to the guard to escort Dale out of his office. The guard gently took Dale by the arm to lead him out. You are making a very big mistake, magistrate. If they are on the move, Trigor will be their first objective, Dale warned as he was escorted out. Once out of the magistrate's office, the guard looked down on Dale. Are you sure in what you saw? Dale looked him in the eyes. I have only seen those eyes one time before. They were not Zachary's, they were demonoids. My guess is a scouting party. I shouldn't do this. The guard took Dale by the arm again, and instead of leading him out of the palace, he led him up another flight of stairs. Having climbed 3 flights, the guard finally led him down a long granite hallway. A thick blue carpet covered the floor. On the walls hung beautifully detailed tapestries that depicted different grand battles of Neethtons in combat against humans, Kraktons, Quadrons, and demonoids. Reaching the door at the end of the corridor, the guard knocked. Urpus, a voice commanded from behind the door. Dale and the guard entered a large room with a pink and white marble tub in the center of it. In the tub was the prince wearing only his gold leaf crown. 2 completely nude Neethton maidens were in the tub with him. One massaging his back and the other was in front of him, doing something under the water with her hands. Another 2 nude females were adding gold pitchers of hot water to the tub. The guard bowed. I am sorry for the intrusion, my prince. Huma, Dale. The prince was excited to see him. He addressed all the maidens. This is the human I told you about. See, they are for real. All of the females smiled with their eyes towards Dale. Dale was surprised, but pleased, that none of them seemed ashamed of being completely bare before him. My prince, I think you should hear what the human has to report. You should report to the district magistrate, the prince replied. He did, my prince, but the magistrate dismissed him. This is most inappropriate. The prince became a bit stern. There is a chain of command. The guard submissively fell to one knee and bowed his head. I understand that, my prince. I am willing to take any appropriate punishment for my actions. I believe it is that important for you to hear what the human has to say. If you are willing to risk punishment, I think the least I could do is hear him out. Don't you agree, my ladies? He seeked the counsel of the females. They all nodded yes, and replied ere. Chapter 4. The next morning, Dale rode behind the prince and his personal guards. The guard that brought him to the prince was riding beside him. Dale turned in his saddle, seeing the squadrons of Neethton mounted warriors following them. Zup, I didn't expect the prince to join us, especially with so many. I said I was sure it was only a scouting party. Dale stated, feeling a bit guilty to have the Neethtons come out in such a large force. There were 100 in the column, 3 abreast, 4 squadrons in total. The dust they were kicking up, he was convinced, would warn and scare off any demonoid scouting party still in the woods. This is the prince's normal escort. He wouldn't go to the heart of the kingdom to even visit his father with less. Zup explained. The prince in the lead raised his right hand, halting the column just before entering the woods. He spoke to the flag-bearer next to him. The flag-bearer raised the colors once up high, lowered it, and then pointed the spear point of the flagpole to the entrance of the woods. The first 25 mounted Neethtons spurred their mounts forward, entering the woods in a canter. The prince twisted back in his saddle and gestured for Dale and Zup to approach. Without hesitation, they rode up to the prince and his entourage. If only a scouting party, one squadron should be efficient, he stated more than really questioned. Yes, your highness. Dale hoped they would find something. He had no desire to look foolish in front of the Neethtons and make trouble for Zup for putting out his neck for him. 15 minutes later, the squadron returned from the woods. Several of the Neethtons were wounded. One of the mounts was without its rider. Behind them they dragged a red-skinned creature with fiery yellow eyes out of the forest. Bounded by Neethton ropes, the creature was humanoid in build, but shorter and stockier than a human. It hissed and growled as it was pulled into the morning sun. It was squinting its eyes tightly from the light. It wore a thick grayish leather hide with plates of iron sewn on it for additional protection. The commander of the squadron bowed his head before the prince. We caught them napping. We killed 5, at least 20 others fled. If it is a scouting party, it is a scouting party in force. He handed the crudely built battle axe of the creature to the prince. It gave off a foul odor of rotten eggs. The prince looked down at the creature, its long forked tongue stuck out between its jagged yellowish teeth. That explains your Zacharies. The prince turned to Dale as he pointed to the leather garment the demonoid was clad in. Zachary hides. Dale recognized the pelts. Since when do demonoids wear anything? They don't, the prince replied as he examined the battle axe. They also don't fashion weapons at this level either, as crude as it may be. He handed the axe to Dale. Dale also examined the weapon. This is steel, not iron. It is a technology beyond them. There are other forces at work here, the prince responded. He looked at the creature. Who supplied you this? Og Kufles Rui. The creature looked up at the prince. Does anyone speak this creature's tongue? The prince asked among his immediate escort. They all shook their heads no. The prince looked at the commander of the first squadron. Have your wounded returned to Trigor with us. Tie that thing to your spare mount and escort it back to the capital. Have my father's scholars interrogate it. Report to him what we discovered here. The commander bowed his head. He looked at 2 of his warriors. They immediately dismounted and grabbed the creature. It snapped and hissed at them as they threw it over the saddle and hog-tied it to the mount of their fallen comrade. Once secure, the commander bowed his head again, pulled his mount away, and led his remaining squadron and their prisoner to the southwest at a gallop. That evening, Your Highness, I need to return to my settlement. They need to be aware of this threat. Dale requested a small escort through New Angle Woods. We are dealing with something we have never faced before. Demonoids emerging before winter, venturing further from the ruins than ever before, equipped with technology beyond them. I lost one of my warriors already. The prince used a dagger to take a slice of venison to place on his plate. I will go with Dale, Zup offered. Don't be so hasty to volunteer. The prince gave a slight warning as he waved his dagger. Volunteering can get one killed. I understand the dangers, my prince. Please let me accompany him to warn his people. Besides, I am actually curious to see a human settlement. The prince smiled. You're good one, Zup. I would hate to lose you. If only Zup accompanies me, it would be too dangerous for him to return alone, Dale pointed out. Only the two of you entering those woods will be too dangerous. There might still be at least 20 well-armed demonoids in those woods. I cannot have either of you taking that risk. The King's Road, then. We can bypass the New Angle Woods. It will add a day to our trip, but it is better than not warning them at all, Dale suggested. With a sizable human force, we can escort him back safely. The prince sighed, giving in. He looked at Zup. Okay, you can go with him, but I want the humans to escort you back, also via the King's Road. Zup bowed his head deeply. Thank you, my prince. Thank you, your highness. Dale smiled at the prince. Ale. Well, don't thank me until you both return alive. The prince took a bite of the venison on his dagger.